A horrific crime. A boy forced into prostitution, sold on the dark net. The seller, his mother. Here in Germany, a court today found a couple guilty in a child abuse trial that has shocked the nation. For years, the couple sexually assaulted the woman's young son and made him available to pedophiles on the dark net in exchange for money. The court sentenced both the mother and her partner to 12 years in prison.
This woman and her partner made her son suffer unbelievable atrocities. Rape, severe sexual abuse, forced prostitution, all at the age of 7. For that, they'll spend years behind bars. She'll be getting a little more prison time than he will. This is simply due to the fact that he provided us with comprehensive information. The court took account of that, and the severity of the mother's actions, of course. Staufen in southwestern Germany was where the man and woman offered customers on the darknet the chance to rape her son. At least 6 men traveled from Germany, Switzerland, and Spain to take advantage of that offer. Katja Ravat is the boy's lawyer. The boy is now 10, and she says he's doing as well as can be expected under the circumstances. He lives with a foster family.
Yeah, the story tragic on so many sides. I'm joined tonight by the psychologist and director of the Berlin-based child protection NGO Innocence in Danger. It's good to have you with us. Julia von Weiler, I want to ask you, Julia, we were talking earlier about, what happens to children who are in these situations. This young boy, we understand he's now about 10 years old. I mean, will he ever recover from this? Can we talk about him one day having a normal life?
Sure, he can. But his life will never be as it could have been if that didn't happen. So child sexual abuse changes the future of a child. But they call themselves survivors because they're strong, and they did survive. He did survive the worst of it already, the torture, the selling, the prostitution, the fact that his mother does not protect him, that his father
his mother was also one of the rapists, right?
Exactly, yes, she was a perpetrator, and she was a sadistic perpetrator. So actually today she did him a favor in a way, because she accepted the sentence right away in court still, and she said, I want to give him a sign. And one of the signs that children need is that the offender takes responsibility, which they rarely do. Usually they sort of cry about themselves.
Is the 10-year-old, is he looking for a sign from his mother, despite the fact that she is also a perpetrator?
Sure he is. He still loves his mom. He probably still misses her. Children told me, everything would be fine if he or she would just stop doing that. I love my dad, I love my mom, I don't want to be separated from them. So we need to be aware that he's...
Well, he hinted at abuse, right?
Yeah.
And what did people not recognize the signs? I mean, what happened? Do we know?
I think that it's, we don't want to know. We, as a teacher, as a neighbor, as whoever, I don't want to be aware of the fact that child sexual abuse happens right in my neighborhood. Not in my watch, not on my street, not in my building, not in my school. It's always somewhere else. But it's not. It's right next to us. So we need to be aware that it does happen amongst us, that we know victims, and that's what makes it so difficult. We know offenders. If we know victims, we know offenders.
When you say we know offenders, there are countries, societies around the world where sexual offenders are put on lists and it's made public. That is not necessarily the case here in Germany. Do you think, though, that the innocent are as protected as they should be in this country?
No, they're not, but they're also not protected as they should be in those countries where the offenders are put online, because we need to be aware that in those cases we're only talking about sentenced offenders, and we know that only a tiny fraction of offenders is ever put to trial. So you have all these others still around, and so if everybody focuses on the one who's put online, I as an offender have it really easy to access children.
What about the dark net and child pornography? We understand there were videos made of this boy being raped. They're out there somewhere, we assume. And none of this, or this would not have been possible in its severity had there been no darknet.
Right. The internet, digital media and the internet really changed the dynamics of child sexual abuse. We have child sexual abuse images being traded now. We have something like live stream child sexual abuse, where I sit in front of a computer and direct what's going on somewhere else in the world. And we need to be aware that the spreading of these images really affects survivors. And we were part of an international study conducted with survivors of these crimes, and these survivors tell us, you need to be aware that these images out there hurt us in a very bad way. You need to be aware that we need your help and that society needs to change laws also.
Well, who needs to shut down these, these live streams and these sources of pornography? Who do you think is responsible for taking these images down?
I think that law enforcement is responsible. I think that governments are responsible.
But it's proliferating, though.
I know it is, but then, today we have to, these industries can do so many things. And I know, for example, one of the giants, Google, is doing great stuff when it comes to trying to detect child sexual abuse images. But I do believe Google could do so much more. And I do believe if governments would sort of work together and really confront the issue, we could make a difference. And one of the differences that all governments could make would be to put law enforcement in the right spot to be able to do their work, which means more manpower and better technology.
Well, Julia van Weiler, as I said earlier, you're doing an angel's work out there protecting children with the child protection NGO Innocence in Danger based here in Berlin. Julia, thank you.
Thanks.